Deliveries in Uruguay have already begun and will be starting in Brazil in the next 10 days or so. So that's pretty cool, I think, isn't it? So it tells us that the BYD Dolphin has regulatory approval in the US, South America, and that the market demand is there. People can afford it. It's at the local price in South America. And I can say for sure that people in the UK, Europe, for example, really keen to have the opportunity to buy one of these. So there are comments literally all over my videos, literally all over, especially when I talk about BYD Seagull, people saying I would literally buy one tomorrow in capital letters. No, literally no other car has had this response from anyone that watches my videos, only to BYD Seagull. This is an important car, I would say, from an important company, and you've got to note though which one to get. There are a couple of choices for the battery. You've got a cheap one, expensive one, very little money in it difference, and you should get one of them. Stick around to the end and I'll let you know why, because it's actually quite interesting. People are sometimes quite keen to say that they would buy one immediately at the local price in China, which is about 11 or 12,000 US dollars equivalent of. We all knew when the car gets exported, it will be jacked up, basically. So there's middle people getting a bit of money, and also there's an extra cost to it. Importing it across the world, you can't possibly sell it for $12,000 after having shipped it, for 20 days across the ocean. So that's just not the case. So for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm Ben Alexander, and I make EV news videos almost every day. I used to do it every day, and I will be getting back into it every day. But as you can see, I'm in Scandinavia now, so I've just moved back from Australia back to Europe. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much to those people that for a long time now have donated a few dollars a month to help me keep doing this. That's really nice of you. And especially when there have been times where for a couple of weeks at a time I haven't posted anything. I do feel really bad for those subscribers, or especially people that give a few dollars a month. And yeah, it's kind of touching. I honestly think it is really touching, so thank you very much. In Scandinavia, it's currently very cold, and someone said yesterday, is that the only shirt I have? Like Einstein, I have 10 of these shirts, so that I can always wear it and not waste energy thinking about what I'm wearing. And that's why I wear it. I'll probably get lectured on this video for not buttoning that up. I usually do, and the moment I have creases or a button undone, I get lectured. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, some people can be touchy, can't they? So anyway, it was a very long trip from Europe. It was 33 hours flight to flight, plus all the other stuff, all the waiting and all the traveling around, that sort of stuff. And it was 2 stops, not 1, so that was kind of awful. I definitely don't think you should do that sort of trip in with 2 stops with 4 or 5 hours between waiting at airports. Kind of crappy, honestly. Definitely don't think you should do that. Normally I would go with Etihad. I didn't do that this time, and I regret it. So yeah, it's nice to be back, obviously. So here in Scandinavia, EVs literally everywhere, obviously. Anyone who knows about, say, Norway, it's like 90-something% of cars sold now are electric cars, and they are literally everywhere in Scandinavia, whether you're in Sweden or Norway, it doesn't really matter, literally everywhere. Really nice to see that, I think. It was a couple of years since being here, actually, because of the COVID stuff, so I didn't travel back and forth in the last couple of years until now, so this is kind of a really nice thing to be here. I just, I don't want to rant too much about me, but I know some people are interested. Like, what is going on? Where are you? And why have you just vanished? And, so that's what's going on. I won't do this in all my videos and rant on about myself. Obviously, there's a fantastic reason for states and governments around the world to want to push EVs, obviously, because they can literally just tax them and take your money before it goes to the oil companies. So basically, more local money. And I suppose you could say that, if there's going to be a big cost to use your car when you drive per kilometre, that also will go to the state government rather than, going to the petrol stations first and the petrol companies, and then they take some money from that. So obviously that's a great thing for for the environment too. I suppose the more people drive electric cars, regardless of where the tax goes, it's a really good thing. The air that we breathe, hugely different in places like Australia versus Europe, for example. You could literally go to Brisbane versus Amsterdam. Amsterdam, really densely packed, lots of people driving around, almost no smell at all. It just feels like you're breathing crystal clear air, which is an amazing thing. And of course, the occasional diesel truck or delivery van or something is there. But you definitely don't want to be breathing in diesel particulates. I chirp on about this all the time. I know it's very boring, but it is one of the worst things for our health. It really is, of our time. And, it goes into your lungs and your body does awful things with it. And people get very, very, very ill, within, so many decades later. It's quite bad. So you should give it a Google for sure. So I guess you've also considered whether to buy the BYD Dolphin versus the BYD Seagull. A lot of people have. Even I've thought of that question, So would I buy a Dolphin versus a Seagull? What are the pros and cons? The BYD Seagull, by the way, is actually called a Dolphin Mini in South America. And it might be that as well in Europe when it does come to Europe, because it is coming to Europe. I made a video on this, actually, which I will put at the end on the two boxes for you in the last, I think, 15 seconds or so, and it will be in the description as well. And it's a really interesting video, literally just going over the pros and cons of each car and why they're so different. Literally, why is there such a jump in price for what is, I would argue, it's comparable. It's not out of the realm to say that they're comparable. I mean, there is, one of them might do 400 kilometers range, one might do 370. It's not crazy, I don't think. The main differences are that the BYD Seagull or Dolphin Mini is and always will be a stripped back version of, for example, the Dolphin. It's a budget car. That's kind of its goal, isn't it? So no real power option, no extra long range, no fancy paints or anything like that. The price shows this, obviously, because it's nowhere near the price of a BYD Dolphin, even a cheap one. So the BYD Dolphin does have the option. For example, you can buy it with 200 horsepower, a bigger battery, so it's got bigger range. Maybe you could argue fancier paints. I'm not going to use the term of nicer paints. I don't agree with that, but fancier paints. Cars if you have a black car, straight black, or maybe metallic, or white, or maybe metallic white, but not pearl. When you just have straight, simple colours, it's generally black or white. It's cheaper to get them repaired. So if you get a dent in the car park at when you're in Tesco in the UK or something, it will be cheaper to think about getting that fixed. Often you can get just the door. If there's a dent in the door, you could possibly just get the door painted, and the colour match, should be quite possibly good enough to just do that. If you start getting fancy colours like paints or two-stage pearls, for example, you then have to blend into the other panels. So what could have been a fix on one door has now become 3 panels, and that's my gripe with these fancy colours. They're not an improvement. I don't think. I think they're to the detriment of the longevity of the car. I don't think that's a great thing. So before I forget as well, the Dolphin Mini is on sale for $21,990 before you get your benefits and whatnot for the base version, which is the one you should never get for a very good reason, and $23,990, so $2,000 more. That's it, $2,000 more, and I'll tell you in a second just why that's a bargain for the best version. So you should know that the top version has proper battery cooling, using both liquid cooling and the air conditioning to cool the battery. So that is proper cooling. So for example, when a battery has passive cooling, obviously it has nothing, the battery will just cook. If you drive into the city centre of a town and it's a hot day in a hot climate like Brazil or, I don't know, Texas, for example, where it's really hot, literally the car can't do anything about the battery temperature. It will literally just cook the battery. And we know for sure now, we've have a lot of EVs around the world that is destroying batteries, and there are cars that have 40, 50, 60,000 miles on in hot climates that have basically lost 30, 40, 50%, I've seen, of their capacity in not very much driving as well. So you definitely should just spend the $2,000 extra, get notably larger range because the battery is quite a bit bigger, and I think it's 8 or so kilowatt hours bigger, and then you get proper cooling. That's a no-brainer. For $2,000 you get that. I think that's a bargain. So not even a fan blowing over the cells would cut it in a hot climate. I just replied to a comment today where someone was saying the Citroen has one of the the new Citroen electric car that I talked about recently. That they put with an exclamation mark at the end. It does have cooling on it. It has a fan that will waft whatever the air is on the battery cells, and if the air outside is 36 degrees, the air that it blows is not exactly cooling it down, I would argue. So that is an issue, and we know for sure, batteries on hybrids, for example, if you go to if you do a bit of research and look at hybrid batteries where they use that same thing with a fan that blows air, or other cars like the Hyundai, one of the early Hyundais, where they literally just use a fan to blow air through the battery cells. In hot climates, it's kind of useless. Maybe it's all right in the UK. Maybe if it's 6 degrees outside and you've heated the battery up and the battery's gone up to say 26 degrees and it's blowing some sort of nice cool air on it. That in that instance it might do something, honestly, but not when you're in a truly hot climate like Texas. It's just, you can't do that. So if we want these cars to last for 300,000 kilometers, 400,000 kilometers, at the very least, one of the best things you do, buy from a good brand like BYD or maybe Toyota or Honda if they start playing the game, and proper battery cooling. That's it. Those two things, in my opinion, are the most important things. Decent brand, battery cooling. If you want the battery to last, and the cycles, they can last the cycles. Obviously, I know loads of you are super, super smart people, and you've been driving electric cars for years. Some of you have even converted your own electric cars, so I don't need to tell you. But if you want the battery to last, it's not necessarily the cycles of the battery that's going to damage it. As quick as the heat. The heat will just destroy it. So that's just definitely something for me to drop into my video. I hope you don't mind that. Like I've said as well, it's the chemistry inside the cell. When it gets really, really hot, it literally just degrades. And otherwise, it should last for years if you can keep the battery under 25 degrees Celsius or something like that. And hundreds of thousands of kilometers if you have proper battery cooling. So it's just definitely worth remembering that. And liquid cooling does not necessarily mean that it uses air conditioning to cool it. Liquid cooling just means it might be able to extract the heat from the battery and get it to a radiator and blow a fan over it. That's liquid cooling. That doesn't mean it's using proper air conditioning, glycol and air conditioning to actually cool the batteries down. That's what we need, sort of like Teslas. Let me know what you think of the BYD Dolphin Mini, and if you're considering getting one at all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tomorrow.